Two of the largest anti-cheat services recently confirmed that they will be supporting the Steam Deck. It's still up to game developers to opt in, and even then it may take some time to implement that support. So why then do I believe Destiny 2 will be ready at launch? I'll tell you in this video. What's good, Deck Gang? This is your weekly Steam Deck news roundup. I'm getting on a more consistent schedule, so you can expect these every Friday. Of course, you know what to do if you want to be notified the moment these go live. Jumping right into the subject of anti-cheat, 1 week ago today, two of the major hurdles for SteamOS compatibility were cleared. Both BattleEye and Easy Anti-Cheat made huge PR announcements that they will now support Linux. And while Linux is the key word here, conspicuous by its presence in both PR announcements is the term Steam Deck. The fact that Valve did not make this announcement and the companies in question called out the Steam Deck by name signals that they are behind this product just like any other large gaming hardware launch. And let's not forget Epic's role here. While they can and should be considered competition to Steam, they, as the owners of EAC, put their full-throated support behind Valve in this scenario. CEO of Epic, Tim Sweeney, has made it abundantly clear that he shares the same concerns as the G-Man does. They're both worried that Windows could become a walled garden like the iOS and Android ecosystems. Perhaps this is partly why Epic is quick to support such an endeavor as SteamOS, an open and gaming-oriented PC operating system. Put mildly, this development is the biggest domino that needed to fall for the biggest games to be compatible with SteamOS. Out of the top 100 most popular games on Steam, 12 are completely unplayable on Proton today. Out of those 12, 11 are using either BattleEye or EAC. We're talking about PUBG, Apex Legends, Destiny 2, Rainbow Six Siege, Dead by Daylight, DayZ, Smite, Black Desert, Paladins, Fall Guys, and Hunt Showdown. Whether or not you personally play these games is besides the point. We want the most popular games to be playable so that the Steam Deck sells well, and now we're able to see the light at the end of that tunnel. Clearly, it's not a done deal, however. Each of these studios has to have the will to incorporate the newly announced Linux support. That's not quite as straightforward as it sounds. I think it's clear that there are large companies that will support Valve and support the Steam Deck, but it's not as simple as flipping a flag and bam, your Linux build is ready. Without getting too deep into the weeds, the developers will have to update their anti-cheat libraries, resolve any dependencies on older versions of the libraries, and even then this could very well be the first time they're testing a Linux build at all, Proton or otherwise. Not to mention, before they can even get started in earnest, they'll have to convince a suit to approve the budget for all of this, all for an unproven console. I think it'll happen, but will it happen for all 11 of these games before the launch in December? I'm skeptical. So if I'm skeptical of that, then why do I think Destiny 2, which uses BattleEye, will be ready by December? Well, some Redditors have been doing some digging and they've happened upon some juicy speculation. And if you know nothing else about this channel, you know that I will entertain some juicy speculation. Here's what they found. It seems that back in Season 14 of Destiny 2, Bungie added a completely unobtainable emblem to the game. That emblem looks like this. I'm not impressing you, am I? It's a picture of an atom. Atoms have neutrons, electrons, and Is that a reach? Yes, definitely. But there's more. The name of this particular emblem is, wait for it, Portable Power. Portable Power! So how would you get this emblem? According to LightGG, the self-proclaimed premier resource to learn what's new with Destiny 2, the source of this emblem is, quote, unlocked by a special offer, end quote. Could it be that this emblem is reserved only for deck users? And if so, how long has this been in the works? Season 14 ran from May 11th to August 24th. If the speculation is correct, this has been in the works for some time. Have the other games I listed been prepared for this moment since earlier this year? I don't know, but I'm beginning to feel strongly that Destiny 2 will be a premier title for the Steam Deck launch later this year. What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments. Next, I want to follow up on my piece from last week, which included an unboxing and a Google translated article, both originally by a Chinese outlet. The write-up in particular gave us some good benchmarks, but only gave us screenshots. Since then, another video has been published. This one is 6 minutes long and includes footage of AAA games being played on the Steam Deck. Obviously, I'm playing some of that footage here, and I published a short earlier this week to share some of that with y'all. There's a lot of detail here, including Linux, browser usage, attempting to play Genshin Impact, SteamOS UI, playing both in docked and handheld mode, as well as games played like Death Stranding, Doom, Cyberpunk, Dota 2, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider. It's pretty neat, and there's a link in the description if you want to watch the video in full. I do want to offer some caveats here. We don't know what their testing methodologies are, and based on what we know so far, they don't seem to be as rigid as we'll get from, say, Linus or the Fox. Commenters on my video have pointed out that Doom 2016 was tested using OpenGL and that Vulkan is a lot more performant. ProtonDB reports support that, and yeah, there's no reason Doom 2016 should be getting 46 FPS at 800p on Steam Deck's hardware. In addition, the battery life I reported last week does seem too good to be true, so please take that with a grain of salt. Not to mention these videos are super compressed and end up looking like they were filmed on a potato, so please enjoy the leaks, but don't take any of this information as fact or as the peak of optimization that we'll see on this device. Next up is one of my favorite topics, who has a dev kit? The nice thing about the dev kit news is that it usually gives us screenshots of different games, and it lets us embrace this inner child where we suspend our disbelief and act like a screenshot is just cooler just because it's playing on the thing we wanted to play it on. This meme, basically. If you want a complete list of who got dev kits, I'll share a link to a post I made on Reddit in the description. It's pretty comprehensive, and if you want to see what I've said in the last 2 weeks about devs with dev kits, check the video in the card above. Since we last spoke about dev kits, the developers of the following games got one: Project Zomboid, Gary's Mod, Craftopia, Foundation, Dyson Sphere Program, Myst, Muse Dash, Zero Hour, Small Land, Rhythm Doctor, Nina Aquila Legal Eagle, which looks like an awesome RPG Maker take on Ace Attorney by the way, YouTuber's Life, as well as Tiny Build, who published a lot of games, most notably the Hello Neighbor series, and Annapurna, who published some of my favorite titles, including Outer Wilds. Once again, with the exception of maybe 2 on this list, these are all studios with top 1,000 selling games, and like I said earlier, we want the Steam Deck to be popular, so we want high selling games to play well on the deck. A nice thing about these posts is that there has been a lot more video shared in the last week. So there's a lot of footage, and I'm showing some of that to you in this video. Other than that, there's not actually too much to say this time around on the topic, but I will highlight a couple of shares from the week. In this tweet, the screen looks really good as the dev is playing Dyson Sphere Program in the streets of what look to be Akihabara. And the Badass Award of the week goes to this dev who shares gameplay footage of a cockpit in X-Plane on the screen of the deck, only to reveal the real life cockpit of the plane that the dev is actually in. That, ladies and gentlemen, is next level. And finally, these two made the rounds. Both are of VR being played on the deck. The first is from the Japanese dev IVR, who I've covered in the past. The second is of Pistol Whip, who I also covered in a previous video. What's notable here is that Pistol Whip doesn't appear to play particularly well, and the dev has something to say about that. He says, quote, Steam Deck update. Shock to no one, this is a dev kit. Second shock to no one, Valve was clear that this was not for VR. Third shock to no one, it will take some time to understand what the capabilities are and how to optimize. This is about a potential future, not the right now. So which potential future is he alluding to exactly? Maybe it's the same VR future I was alluding to a couple videos back. One where Valve is working on a standalone x86 based wireless VR console that may or may not use the guts of the Steam Deck. Well, more information on that has surfaced. It looks like Valve has codenamed their headset the Deckard. If you're as much of a nerd as I am and want to know what sort of tech Valve is working on for this headset or what patents Valve has filed, check out the playlist in the description where there's lots of interesting details. And if you want me to do a summary on some of this, let me know in the comments below. For now, the main takeaway is that Valve is in fact working on a standalone x86 VR headset, which is super exciting. Finally, a couple of quick hit items. RetroArch got an official release on Steam a few weeks ago. A lot of people are lauding this as the killer app of the Steam Deck. And in fact, a lot of you, my viewers, are excited to see me cover emulation on the Steam Deck. I'll certainly do so. I love RetroArch, I'm a big fan. But I would caution around calling this a killer app. I think people that want to do handheld emulation have had options for years, and I don't think that emulation is what's going to sell this bad boy. It's fraught with issues, and it's not always easy to find the thing you're looking for. In other news, Valve recently published an FAQ. It's neat, and there's nothing I would call new here, but it may offer some clarification on some hotly contested points like whether or not you can hook up an eGPU and does docking improve performance. No and no, by the way. Next, get ready to click install demo because NextFest began today and that means demos for everyone. I'll post some shorts this week recommending some demos to try. Off the bat, I'm going to recommend Tunic, Grapple Dog, and Anno Mutationum. 3 very different but all excellent games. Go give them a try. On that note, I have been highlighting interesting Steam releases for y'all the last 2 weeks. I promise there are some hidden gems in there. I'll play around with the formula and see what format you may all like, but if you have some feedback, please let me know. And if you stuck around this long, you are a real one, and you may have heard this before. Like and subscribe, slap the bell to get notified. Tell a friend it's a vibe. That gang out. Goodbye.